Hi, Robin. Is it you or me that's not producing sound? I can't hear you.
Can you hear me, Cam?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay. All right, let me try going back to my headphones.
You want to test them?
I have to connect them first.
Oh,
They say they're connected, but they're not.
Ooh,
Oh, you know what I need to do? Maybe I just need to connect them through here.
you need to turn Bluetooth on.
Okay. So you can't hear, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Mhm.
Oh, and I hear you. Okay, perfect.
Great. So we're all dressed up and nowhere to go, Robin. I felt compelled to get here on time so that you could get out on time as well. So let's hope
Hmm.
that we can start moving things forward.
And you saw Anna's email?
I did, and
Yeah.
I've suggested we have a chat this afternoon.
Yeah, she's tried a couple of times.
Interestingly enough, I had another issue. I was on the um, library board of trustees meeting today,
Mhm.
and they apparently put in a capital request for 40K for renovations to their bathrooms, and it didn't go through. And I do not recall it ever being presented to capital budget. So I'm trying to work out what might have gone wrong there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even ever remember seeing it on any
No,
list.
I don't either.
Hmm.
I, Hi,
Hey,
everybody. I
Michael.
just heard that. Yeah, I'll have to check in with Chris on Barry on that. I don't recall if that was submitted or dropped somewhere. I don't know.
Bethany was saying that they'd submitted it to Carl, but I
If
don't. But but they were then surprised to see it actually wasn't on the proposals.
Yeah, I
okay,
mean, it wasn't
I'll
on any list that I saw.
No, I didn't either.
all right. Yeah, let us look into that. I'm not quite
That'd be
sure.
great. Mhm. Yeah, I imagine that Bethany might reach out, so I wanted to give you
Okay,
the heads up there, Mike.
thank you.
It's just not a department we have anything more to go wrong with,
I know.
Right,
I know.
particularly on the capital budget side.
right?
So Dave's the late comer today. I'm glad it's occasionally him and not just me.
Well, he had a meeting here, and I saw him running out to go home to jump on. So
Okay,
So you know what? I'm gonna get started just so that we can get the
good
preliminary
idea.
stuff out of the way here. So, welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting today, Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. It's being held remotely using the Zoom technology. Once again, we are using a webinar technology. So for our citizens' comments, should you have any comments, please use the raise your hand feature, which you should be able to find at the bottom of your screen, and we will give you permission to make your comment. Again, this would be any comment that you may have that isn't on the agenda this evening or this morning. So with that, I am going to take a roll call vote of the Board of Selectmen. Robin Hunter present.
Dave Haviland, present and accounted for.
Cam Hudson present.
All right, so thank you, everybody. Just a notice, I have a hard stop at 12:30. So if we are not through the agenda, I am going to leave the meeting, and Cam, you and Dave should just continue with business, and I apologize for that.
It's understandable, don't worry.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so the first item is a fun item. It's for us to approve April 24th, 2026 as Arbor Day in Dover. So I don't know if Val Lynn is present.
I believe she might be Dover planning. Yep, she has her hand raised.
Okay.
She comes.
Okay.
Hi, are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah,
Good morning.
perfect.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, this is the time where we are talking about Arbor Day. It's always in April. This year it's April 24th. And the town of Dover has been celebrating it now, I believe, since 2023, I think. We have some great activities also put together for Arbor Day. We have a tree walk, tall tree walk, this Saturday at 10 a.m. And you can find the registration on the town website. We also have a kids crafting activity at the Dover Library on April 24th at 3 p.m. And we will be handing away tree seedlings. We partner with the DPW, and those will be May 1st is May 1st at the town garage, and then May 2nd and 3rd at the transfer station. So we're excited to celebrate Arbor Day with the community. And today we are asking the Board of Selectmen to approve a proclamation stating that Dover also will be celebrating and recognizing Arbor Day on Friday, April 24th.
So Val, that's a lot of really fun activities. I would suggest that you push out those dates on social media so that people can remember
Yes.
where they are. And I'm really glad that my memory was correct. I was going to
Yes.
say this is our third Arbor Day that we're celebrating.
Yes, yes.
And it's really exciting because I know it was a lot of work to get us to where we are today. So I don't know,
and we just
Dave.
received.
No, I think
Go
this is
ahead.
wonderful, and not to shortchange it at all, but given the agenda length, I'm all in favor. So,
Yeah,
Okay.
me
Val,
too.
we'll let you finish. What did you want to say? There was something
Oh, I just wanted
exciting.
to thank you all for your support. Dover just received notice that we are, for the third year in a row, designated as a Tree City USA community. So thank you,
congratulations.
especially to Mike.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. It's great. I'm honored to be part of a town that's a tree community. So with that, I'm going to move to proclaim Friday, April 24th, 2026 as the town of Dover's Arbor Day.
Second.
All in favor? I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Dave Haviland.
Hi, Cam Hudson.
And I suggest to everybody who may be listening or listening to a recording, check out social media. There are opportunities for you guys to get seedlings from the DPW and also at the transfer station.
They're
On May
great. Our
1st,
two
I
are
believe.
still with us.
Right.
I love it.
That means
Thank
you
you so
probably
much.
watered them a little bit. All right.
They're that high.
Well, Dave, it's success.
That's right. Enjoy.
Thanks, Val. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so moving to item 1.2 on the agenda. So we are going to welcome the esteemed chair of the Warrant Committee, Woody Weiss, and he's going to present to us the recommendations from the Warrant Committee on the annual town meeting warrant articles, of which there are 25 for consideration. So is Woody there?
I am.
Oh, excellent.
So how do you want me to do this? Do you want me just to go through the different articles, or what's the
I don't know what the best way is. I mean, I think we're all aware of the articles. We're also going to vote. We are also going to vote on them following this.
Yep.
Um, um, I don't know, Mike, do you have a suggestion? Because I think to read all of them is just going to take up a whole lot of time.
Yeah, I think usually, I think Woody could just give kind of a broad overview.
Right,
If there's anything of note you want to point out, but generally, what these group of articles you recommended, any you haven't yet, just kind of that broad look.
Okay.
right.
So before I do that, I do want to comment that I think the members of the Warren Committee have done a spectacular job this year. In particular, that we decided to put a big emphasis this year on the liaison role, and really feel that the members have kind of reinvigorated that role and have done a great job communicating both bidirectionally between the town administration, the departments, and the warrant committee. It's made the whole process for us a lot smoother than it has been the last couple of years. And I'd also like to say that we got a lot of support this year from Chris in particular and Suzanne Hilt in the production of the Blue Book. That was a big challenge last year, and I feel like we've made some significant strides in uh, smoothing that process, and hopefully uh, taking a step towards making the Blue Book a more valuable form of communication between the town and the Warrant Committee and the town residents.
Right.
So,
And I think residents will find it has a different, not only does it have a different look, which we started last year, making it bigger, but it's also the content has changed a little bit. And I think people will find it more informative.
I liked it. I thought it was very
Yeah.
clear. So
Mhm.
I tip my hat. Thank you to all.
great. So th this was a I would say a shorter and for our purposes a somewhat simpler warrant to address as a committee. Uh, we were uh, kind of able to go through the initial financial articles relatively smoothly without a lot of questions. In particular, we were pleased with the way the operating budget turned out with very manageable growth over last year. Uh, some of that was due to better than expected performance with the with health insurance. We had been warned and were concerned that that might be a double-digit increase this year, but keeping it to 8% really was a significant accomplishment. And we feel that the most pressing uh, new initiatives were accommodated in the operating budget, making uh, it really easy for us to endorse. That said, think there are a number of difficult decisions that were made in the formation of the operating budget, and it does continue to concern us how things are going to go in the next several years. That's particularly true for the capital budget. Um, we uh, we were able to endorse all of the recommendations of the Capital Budget Committee. Uh, we recognize that some of the capital projects are controversial, but we thought all of them were substantially justified and were uh, necessary for the uh, kind of continued well-being of the town and for a prudent kind of approach to capital replacement. Um, the
Could I just get a quick question on the capital side? I
Yep,
noticed at the top of page 24, the police department patrol vehicles, the request was for 150,000 and the warrant committee has only approved 100,000. Is that a typo or is that a real issue? And if it is a real issue, I'd like to understand why you um, recommended a smaller amount. It's the top of page 24,
oh, I
2A.
see that. I think that's a typo, Cam.
Okay, good. Another potential one is the boiler repair. So
What
the
page,
request
Cam?
would, sorry, that is page 28. Let me have a look. Get to it myself. So the boiler repair request was for $11,000. But you guys have recommended 12,000, and I was just trying to understand whether that was another typo.
I believe that was another typo.
Okay, good.
No, that was the recommendation of the Capital Budget Committee. Sorry.
Ah.
I'm not sure why there was the discrepancy between the uh,
And we're both
rec-
members of the Capital Budget Committee, and neither of us know why.
yeah.
Okay, fair enough. That's probably a typo on the capital budget
Well,
side.
it could be that they got a proposal that was for 12,000 and that's why they recommended that.
Could be. That was the final
Perhaps.
recommendation that I got from Barry.
Okay, fair
Right.
enough. Those were the
Is
only
the
two
blue book gone
discrepancies
to
that I
print,
came
Woody?
across.
Oh,
I'm
sorry,
sorry.
Cam, but has the blue book gone to print?
The Blue Book has to go to print on April 1st, which is a challenge, actually.
Seeing it's April 14th.
Well, seeing as how difficult it is to get all of the information in, it's inevitably a scramble getting things together for the Blue Book. We made an effort this year to try to move some of the production earlier. I think one of the big pushes next year is going to be to be even a little earlier. The ability to proof bank corrections and go through it is really compressed. So it's quite a challenge. Without Chris and Suzanne, we would not have been able to accomplish it.
Well, again, recognizing the amount of work, and there's no way for the public to know how much collective work on all the people who worked on this went through. So one, thank you. And you'll obviously just address this at town meeting and say that the amount is
Right.
12 and this is why.
Yep.
Yeah, in addition, for capital, each year we have a handout because we have to separate the votes based on whether we're using debt or in this case, looking at a debt exclusion. So we can make that adjustment there as well. It's another opportunity to explain it on the handout.
Sorry, Cam, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just
No, not at all,
did. Sorry.
Dave. I had my say.
Well, thank you.
I just wasn't sure what those numbers meant.
So Woody,
Yeah,
what
go
were
ahead.
the articles that stood out in your mind as needing discussion with us?
So there are two articles that we don't have a final version on, one of which we voted on in the absence of a final version, one of which we have not yet voted on. Those are the zoning articles from the planning board. So we thought the planning board had their hearing last night, I believe,
Right.
to finalize wording and vote on the final wording. The warrant committee's meeting tomorrow night. We voted without the final decision of the planning board on the ADU article because we thought the chance of a meaningful change in the wording was sufficiently small. We deferred a vote on the site plan review article, which I think is 19 or 20. Uh, and because we weren't sure what the final article would look like. So the expectation is we'll vote tomorrow night and finalize our recommendation, and there'll be a supplement to the Blue Book available at town meeting that
And
should contain that.
right, and that article in the open hearing was the catalyst for a lot of conversation.
Yes.
So as you recall, there was conversation surrounding this article last year as well. And what the planning board tried to do this year is mainstream it, but there is still a lot of, um, there's some people at the open hearing who expressed that they haven't done it, that they didn't do enough, the planning board in this article. So I would expect there's going to be a tremendous amount of discussion at town meeting as to whether or not there are individuals, and I would highly recommend going to watch the Zoom recording of those open hearings because there are individuals in town that express their opinion that what the planning board is doing with the site plan review is overreaching. Um, and so they really tried to streamline it, but there was they're taking baby steps towards this in their recommendations to change the bylaw, but there are a lot of people, potentially, there will be individuals at town meeting that I believe are going to stand up and say what they're trying to do is overreaching with the site plan reviews. And the town planner did a tremendous job looking at what other towns have done, um, looking at what Dover's done in the past and trying to take steps to streamline it and in effect not have everything come to the planning board for site plan review. But some people would say that that's not enough.
Well, 18 to me is almost perfunctory because the state changed their definitions, right?
Exactly.
So
Right.
that
Yeah.
one is just, but
Right.
19 will have if there's going to be
There will be
concerns
there
voiced.
will be
Yeah,
discussion on 19.
agreed.
I think the other articles that generated a moderate amount of discussion on the warrant committee were two capital items. One was the fuel island, which has been discussed in multiple forums and on multiple occasions. Another was the request of Park and Rec to upgrade the parking lot at Carroll Park and to improve the drainage and at the same time create permanent pickleball courts on where the temporary courts exist now on the basketball courts. So those two generated some discussion, although the final recommendations on both were unanimous. And then there was a moderate amount of discussion of the uh, Sustainability Committee's request for the climate action plan. That was also endorsed by the warrant committee, though. So those are the ones that generated the most discussion, I would say, in our committee.
Okay. But at the end, you voted to move forward with all of this, and I think it's important for people to understand that everything that was requested in connection with Article 4 wasn't approved. I mean, there was vetting done, there was work done by the town administrator to talk to various departments. We also talked to departments about capital and need to have versus nice to have, and to help prioritize. So I think at the end it is a really big number, um, of which a significant portion is the fuel island replacement, for which, from the feedback that I've heard, is that nobody believes it doesn't need to be replaced. It's just the location of it that there's some pushback on. And then yeah, and then the pickle, the parking lot, it's definitely an issue at Carroll, but having the pickleball courts commingled with that is does create a need to have a longer conversation.
Right.
That's going to be the toughest part over the next 3 years is the absolutely
Yeah.
need to have versus the want to have. And everyone's got to understand that, yes, you can bond things, but we still have to pay for it as a town. And
Right.
the aggregate costs of some of the capital that is going
Gonna
to
add
come,
up.
it's going to be some big numbers. So as uh, folks have the nice to haves in their minds. Um, what I guess I view our collective role is not to say no, but to say when, and to make sure that we're not going to strain the town's finances or raise the tax rate too much, either on a spike or overall. So, um, but that's, capital for the future, but we're already considering things today.
Right. Well,
Uh,
thank you, Woody. And
yeah.
Yep.
having been the liaison, I will say that I agree with you. I think your committee was extremely engaged. There were
Mhm.
really good questions asked, good conversation. And we would very much like to work on that, or continue that momentum, especially as we think about capital. We want to put together a working group and rethink our policy for capital and how we're going to fund it over the next 5 years. And also how are we going to fund our reserve account as well, because we
Yeah.
can't get ourselves back in the position we're in today.
Right.
So,
But the ideas of KPIs, Woody, I think was great. And you could see how each committee, once they understood what you were looking for,
right.
re-engaged as, I don't know if that's the right word, but totally engaged. So
Yep.
it was definitely a great improvement to the process.
Yeah, we were very impressed with the way people responded to it.
Right. And I think they enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go, Woody. You're the first warrant committee chair to say that people enjoyed the process. So
That was me.
I feel admonished.
yeah. Uh, do we need to vote on accepting the warrant committee's
So,
recommendations?
so typically what we've done is we haven't voted on every single warrant article, but what we have done is, if there is a warrant article that we took a different position than the
Warrant committee.
warrant committee, then we discussed that and voted on it. So for me, I think we should definitely have a discussion on capital, maybe discuss the fuel, you know, so first of all, we made a decision on Friday to move some of the capital so that it's excluded debt. So I think on those items that are excluded debt, I would suggest that we vote on them as to whether or not we're in favor of them. Um, since the planning board only finalized their language on Article 19, maybe we hold off on that so that we can take, because I haven't had an opportunity to look at it, and I do know it's going to be contentious. I have no doubt in my mind. And then the other thing we should probably discuss is the sustainability article, because we did have a discussion on that, and we did get new information on the climate action plan. So that would be my recommendation. But again, if the two of you believe that other items should be discussed and voted on, then I have no issue adding those.
I'm comfortable with what you propose, Robin.
Absolutely. So if what I'm hearing is we'll kind of go through, and if someone has something they'd like to discuss, just call it out. And let's not waste time on things we know we agree with.
Right. So for me, I actually agree. I I I would vote the same way Warren voted on all these articles. I would like to express that I also fully and wholeheartedly support us pulling out some of the large capital items, such as the fuel island and the roof for for the region, as well as the pickleball courts and the paving of the parking lot at Carroll. That is the one warrant, that is the one article that I have the most difficult time with, because I view the parking lot as necessary and I fully support that. I view the pickleball courts as a nice to have for the community. And if people are willing to do an override for that, so be it. But for me, it's not a priority. So that's the only thing. And I'm going to vote in favor of it because I believe that most of the cost is related to the parking lot, but I just don't like that they're coupled together.
What do you
Right, I
think?
agree with you there, Robin. We had some heartache in the Capital Budget Committee on this, and the Warrant Committee as well. I feel that we did ask DPW to separate the two out, but they were reluctant to do so simply because they felt it would increase the cost of the two projects done separately. But I also view the pickleball courts as a nice to have, whereas I think the repair of the drainage system and fixing up the parking lot is an important asset for the town and something that should be done. So
Cam or Woody, may I ask, what is the order of magnitude for the pickleball courts versus
we
the
never got a clear breakout,
Yeah,
Dave.
we
That
never
was
got a
part of the
clear.
problem.
Right.
I think it's difficult to break it out because a lot of the work on the drainage it affects both projects. The parking lot floods at the pickleball end of the parking lot, and that flooding also involves the pickleball courts as well as the parking lot. In any attempt to address that drainage uh, impacts both projects. So
but
that
building
And the feeling
pickleball
was
courts are expensive. So I don't understand how we're getting two pickleball courts and the parking lot drainage and grading, what have you, for $500,000. I mean, at a previous town meeting, two pickleball courts were in the 1 million range.
Right.
So how's this working?
I think the original plan for the pickleball courts had them in a different location. It was creating an entirely new site. It was going to be located between the current tennis courts and the path that goes to the playground. So there was a large amount of site preparation that was involved in creating the pickleball courts, and I think the original plan was for 4 pickleball courts. By transitioning that to the using the already leveled and somewhat prepared site that the basketball court is on, uh, cut the cost of the pickleball courts substantially. So there's still some of the cost is clearly involved in the pickleball courts themselves. They're going to put up some fencing and uh, make the courts more permanent than the current temporary courts. But there's not nearly the same amount of site preparation as was involved in the original plan.
Okay, thank you. That's a great explanation.
Right. And
I'm
and
just,
if you
I'll weigh in that I agree with Cam and Robin, however, that the pickleball courts, um, on a scale of 1 to 10, these are a nice to have down around 8, 9, 10. Whereas a lot of the capital items on this warrant and coming before the town that are known but just not in line yet, um, we've got to be careful. I mean, there seems to be this misinterpretation of free cash that, oh, we'll just take it out of free cash. Oh, just take it out of free cash. And I mean, when we're looking at in the next 5 to 10 years replacing the Center Street Bridge, we've got a protective services building. We've got the report coming from the Collins Center on all the capital items that the town is going to need to address. And I'll just say that I'm nervous and a nice to have, even if it's 100,000 of the 500. Um, at some point, we've got to start saying, hold on a sec, until we have a full grip on what the tax increases are going to be due to the need to haves, we should be putting some of the nice to haves um, on hold. Because again, it's not no, it's when.
Right, and I think the flooding of the parking lot is a real issue, and this is what makes this so difficult for me
Yeah.
because it it's I don't mean this in a negative way, but in a sense it's somewhat disingenuous because and just tell us how much the difference, is it 50,000 to do the courts? I understand all the equipment's there, but it just like it gives me pause for concern. But the parking lot, I understand it needs to happen. And then I ask myself, well, does the parking lot absolutely have to happen this year? But we can't be, we're constantly kicking the can down the road, and that's how we got ourselves in the position. So if you don't spend it this year, you may need to spend it next year. And we figured out how to get the budget balanced this year. So for me, I agree with everything you said, Dave, and I am really torn.
I can only
And
say I
that's
fully agree
why,
with both of you on that front.
right. And that's why for me, making this excluded debt gives the people the opportunity also to think about it. And if they decide at the polls they don't want to vote for it, then
So be it.
Yeah,
yeah, it's the way I
obviously
get
it's the
more
voters.
comfortable with it. Right.
Uh,
Right. And I think, we could at this when this line item is called, I think what we can do is ask Mr. Repetti if we can make a comment about our concerns, just so that people at town meeting understand.
yes, and then let them decide.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
I agree with that approach because again, we're all like, all right, we need to improve the drainage,
Right.
but with an unknown on the pickleball courts. If the pickleball courts are $40,000, it's like, all right, forget it, just do it. But
Right.
I have a hard time not knowing, and the sponsors should have told the capital budget and warrant committee, this is what the cost breakout is. And
Right.
for someone to say, I don't want to give that to you, is
But we can't
absolutely
break
not
it out,
acceptable
right?
to me. That you can't say to capital budget and warrant, we're not going to tell you, but get this approved anyway.
Right. And I think it's going to be a question that's going to be asked at town meeting. So
Yep.
Well, maybe the proponents could give us a rough breakout, not to
yeah,
the
I mean, we could ask again. And then,
they came up with a 500,000 with a budget. So
right.
they know the answer. They just don't want to tell us.
Yeah, and I understand there's economies of scale and you have the equipment there. So how much more is it?
Roughly,
Right,
get us to $10,000 of rough.
right. 20.
Right.
Like what? Give us a percentage. Say 20% of the total cost is
Yep. And Cam and Woody are going, we already asked all these questions 8 times.
right,
So
right, right. All right.
Yep.
And then the other item is the climate action plan, and we did get an email from the sustainability committee,
yeah.
and I know there were quite a number of conversations that were had. The sustainability committee, and I appreciate this, they took the concerns expressed by the Board of Selectmen seriously. They understood why we were suggesting to them that perhaps they should remove the article this year because we really felt as though they didn't have the bandwidth to be successful with MVP as well as the climate action plan. The chair herself admitted that if it fell on her, she did not have the bandwidth to do both. And she went back to the committee, and one of the committee members who has done this in a professional capacity said that she would take the lead for the committee. She would also apply for some additional grants that they may be able to get to defray the costs. And with that information and that commitment to us by the Sustainability Committee, I feel comfortable supporting their request.
Well, not
So
only that,
that's
but
my
they've
thought.
asked to enlarge their committee to get some more, to
E-
be try to get more Indians
right,
to help do the lift.
exactly,
So
Mhm.
exactly.
this is what we are asking for from the beginning. So I agree with you. Now they've in essence figured out how they're going to do what they want to do, if that makes sense.
Right, right, right,
Right. I'm fully in agreement with both of you on that. I'm also looking at Janet Bowser's resume. It's not that she's done it before; she's done it multiple times before,
right,
and so she should be able to do it in a very straightforward fashion, and just learn from, no doubt, from mistakes in the past, and will streamline that
right,
whole process. So I'm optimistic that something really positive will come out of this.
And I tip my
right,
hat. I was at the meeting where everyone literally said, okay, I will take this. I commit to do this. And they went right down the row. So um, I'm was in support, but now I'm in total support, if that makes sense, because they're ready. And that's what we wanted. And
right.
the committee's going to be busy because there's other opportunities that are going to drop in their lap that I'll talk with them tonight, which is all good. So,
Right. And you know what? I was concerned that we were just getting lip service. So I actually also reached out to Janet Bowser, and we are not getting lip service. So this committee is really committed to getting this done. So
yep.
I commend them for that.
Yep.
Mhm.
So that's like the only issues that had or warranted any further discussion or
Right.
Right.
We had the question of the fuel island, but I think we've discussed this so many times. I don't think we've got anything more to contribute.
No, I mean, the town needs to decide. I think all the questions have been asked, all the questions have been answered. Um, So, I know there's abutters that don't like the new location, but the reality is the new fuel island isn't any closer to any homes that are there. I understand the recommendation by the consultants to put it where it is. To me, just because there hasn't been an accident doesn't mean it's not a safety issue. Um, so,
There's also cost. It would significantly
right,
increase the cost of the hood and connecting it to where the system is now if we
right,
reinstall it. Um, but yeah, there's a
right,
lot of other secondary issues we all know and agree with. So,
right,
it, I'll quote another member of the warrant committee, but leave them anonymous. Um, it's a highway garage. It's been a highway garage for a long, long time. And if you buy a house next to a highway garage, you have to expect highway garage operations. Part
right,
of that is fueling. And
And
right,
there have been 5 fuel islands there in the past, so it's not as
correct.
if this is
correct,
something particularly unique.
And if
right,
there's any kind of, when we put in the new tanks and connect them to the stormwater drainage system, we have done everything environmentally possible that we know of anyway to protect the town and its groundwater.
And
That's
I
why we
also
need to
feel
do
that
this.
the technology surrounding this installation is going to be far superior to what we've ever had before. So it's actually going to reduce the risk of
Yeah.
such leakage.
Yeah. And we've worked with the neighbors. They were concerned about headlights at night, so the standard refueling will be during daylight hours, all kinds of considerations like this that have been agreed to. So um, we understand that some people just don't want it. But absent a fuel island, someone's got to explain to me how we're going to plow our streets, fight fires, and have police cars on the road. And to say, oh, well, they can go fill up at some other town. Well, we
yeah,
just talked about budget. I mean, not to mention the time. I mean, what are you going to do? Every time you want to fill up a fire engine, you're going to drive to Needham and take 15, 20 minutes to get there, 15, 20 minutes back. It's wasted hours. And that will add up. That will add up with significant hours. So it just
right,
doesn't make sense.
right. And not to mention, and I think this is a really important point here, no town that was approached wants to even consider this. No town wants to be responsible for having sufficient fuel for trucks of another town. So I think, we reached out. It's just not not an option.
Correct.
Right.
And then
And I
so is
think
moving it.
at open hearing,
Right.
Mike pointed out that if he was to be asked by a neighboring town
Right.
to
He
do
would say
that,
no.
he would say no. So I think it's not just an excuse that we can't go to other towns or that we haven't done sufficient negotiation with other towns. The answer was a flat no.
Right. Right. So then I don't, are there any warrant articles that that any of us don't want to vote for?
Other than the caveats that we've put in so far, particularly about the pickleball courts, I think I'm very comfortable with everything that has been recommended by the Warren Committee.
And
Dave?
capital budget. And
Right.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
exactly where
Okay.
Cam just said.
Okay. So then I'm going to make a motion that um, to approve the annual town meeting warrant articles and votes taken by the warrant committee, with the exception of the following items. Article 19, which is site plan review, because we have not had the opportunity to review the final warrant article, and we know there's going to be discussion. Article 5, we will request from the town moderator the ability for one of us to make a comment about the pickleball courts and parking lot and our, I don't know how to say this, but I guess our concerns about them being coupled together. So do I have a second?
Second, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
Aye, Dave Haviland.
Hi, Cam Hudson.
All right.
Thank you, Woody.
Yep, thank you, Woody. So next on the agenda is the DPW. We'll discuss a couple of items. One is Tech came back to us with some pictures,
Renderings.
renderings of what potentially the new intersection could look like. There is no vote on that this evening, or no motion. Then there's a motion to award the bid for the culvert replacement. And I think the great news is this is being funded by a grant that we received. And then to approve a service agreement with Woodard and Curran to provide the engineering for the culvert. And then to approve an intermunicipal agreement between the town of Walpole and other municipalities for a solid waste contract. And then to approve revised recycling product procurement policy and to award a bid to All States Constructions for bonding and wearing of coarse road treatment. So it's a lot of stuff.
How do you want to tackle it? One at a time?
Well, he has 5 minutes to do it. So according
This
to our
ought to be good.
timeline. No, 15, sorry. So
The
Mike, is Kevin
recycling-
here?
Oh, there we go. Good.
Yes, he just moved over. We didn't know it was him. He's under recycling committee.
Today.
Okay.
There.
So
Hello,
that's how you
recycling
hide
Andy.
Kevin.
Yeah. So,
Hey, Kevin.
yeah, so we have
Hello.
Kevin with us from TEC. So he's got a brief presentation, so we can jump right into the bottleneck updates for the selectmen.
Excellent. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. It's a pleasure to see you again. We last met in early February to give the initial presentation to you concerning what was in front of us for the local bottleneck reduction program through Mass DOT, and was happy to address some of your comments and questions, to bring to you today some updates and some other images that will hopefully put it in perspective for what the new infrastructure will look like. If it's okay with you, I'd love to share my screen and just walk through a set of
Okay.
slides. Okay, great. Let me know when you can see it okay.
We can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So as far as an update goes, at the board's request, we did inquire with Mass DOT about whether or not they would be willing to fund the grant for the work here in Dover, if mast arms were not part of it and it maintained the same, side post design that it has today. But they did indicate that they will mandate it only because of safety standards, and that unless there was an unavoidable physical obstruction, like a building that was right at the back of sidewalk and it didn't allow for it. So that is one of their requirements as part of the grant funds. And again, what we're talking about, and it was intriguing to listen to your conversation about the different budgets, but the great news here is that MassDOT's willing to bring up to $1 million to Dover to help fix the intersection. Also, at the board's request, we did take a close look, and I'll show you an image shortly, in an attempt to reduce the number of signal indications that may be up on the mast arm poles, and I'll walk through that briefly. We have to address both state and federal standards for the type of infrastructure that we're proposing. And some of those are more recent standards than you may have seen driving around the different streets. We prepared some renderings so that at least you can get a perspective or simulation of what it may look like with the mast arms in place that are scaled based on the length and the actual placement of the signal heads. I worked with my landscape architect, Joe, to try to give as close of an impression as we can that's simulated from other existing photos. I'll talk briefly about the left turn signals and why some approaches have 3 indications instead of 2. And as we look, further into the process and design, we'll keep an eye towards the land areas that we may need to do it. Most of it is in right of way, but we'll alert the town as we get further in design to different areas that might require at least an understanding that the sidewalk might be on the community center property, et cetera. So this is what you've already seen as far as the concept for the intersection. There's no changes to this one since we first presented it a couple months ago. This is our recommended design that has the 4 mast arms, 1 on each corner, to provide signal heads that are up and over the lanes and clearly visible in front of them. The board asked, is there a way to reduce the number of signal heads? So you can see in this original concept, this had 3 on the Walpole Street approach. We actually have morphed that so that we can get rid of one of them that was optimal but not necessary to meet the standards. And we moved one, if you can see my cursor, that was here and up high and moved it to the side of the pole. The other
Oh, it's
location,
sitting on the pole and not on the arm.
correct. Yep. So it's at a
Okay,
slightly lower elevation.
right.
And there's only one over the road if you're on Walpole Street looking towards the townhouse.
Okay.
So the alternative that we were asked to explore was, instead of 4, could we do it with fewer mast arms? So we prepared what we call the diagonal option or alternative that looks at trying to do the same thing to meet and be compliant with the same general approach, but they're now occupying the middle of the intersection. So all of them would be visible from all the different approaches, which we felt was less desirable based on what we heard from the board. And I'll show you a couple of representative photos in a moment. There are some downsides to doing the diagonals. One is, as you try to do this, just look at the Walpole Street approach for a moment. The stop line is here. To try to do a diagonal, it's very difficult to see the closest signal heads type of situation where I'm sure you've experienced it before, where you have to kind of like look underneath your car roof, at the top of your windshield to be able to make sure it changed back to green. The other negative influence of this that can occur, and it's more of a nighttime thing, is with all of them being out and over the middle of the intersection, and given the angle of Walpole Street, it's not a true 90-degree intersection. They are supposed to be looking at these couple signal heads here. But this one that faces Center Street northbound may have what we call kind of a bleeding green, that it is partially visible unless you have these, longer louvers and hoods to try to keep that, to obscure that view of that green. So it's just one of those things that would make that head a little bit bigger and more prominent over the intersection. But again, rather than have them on the far side of the intersection, most of the indications are all up and over the road. Now, this is a photo simulation that our landscape architect did of a traditional mast arm with an ornamental pole. You can see the ornamental base. And this one has the indication for the left turn lane, the new left turn lane that we're looking to add to improve capacity. And then the 2 heads here, one is up high, one is on the pole. And that's a national standard for having 2 indications for the through movement, the primary movement from that approach. So that is, a black painted or powder coated. There's different options, but essentially a black straight arm that would come out and over that approach. You also could do the curved mast arms. So I wanted to present this as an alternative. They're a little bit fancier, a little bit more aesthetic. Would still have not only the fluted upright, the vertical pole, but it would also have a fluted arched pole to get the same visibility out and over the intersection. It's more of just a style preference, but this is an option for the town to pursue. From this vantage point on Center Street, you can see the one that's on the fire station corner that comes out for Springdale Ave, and the one for the Walpole Street approach. And you can see here that we have one over the intersection and one on the pole at the edge of the view. For Springdale Ave, on the right is where we're looking to introduce the 2 new ADA stalls at the request of the town, and the sidewalk would bend around it to have maintain 2 compliant accessible stalls directly in front of the community center. The same mast arms are shown in this, but from the different angle. Again, for the Walpole Street approach, you can see the one that's up and over the road, which is more or less, you can call it the target for the through to come up Walpole Street and onto Springdale. The other one is on the pole here, and that would be for that right turn primarily. There's a through indication, but also one that controls the right turns. On Walpole Street, again, in the distance, you can see the one in front of the townhouse. If you're going straight through from Walpole onto Springdale, you can see the one on the edge at the corner of the cafe and the gas station property in that little raised island. And then you can see the one on the fire station corner that needs to extend out because that is the most open corner, we'll call it, where it requires a slightly longer mast arm to get out and over as that target for the left turn lane. That's a new left turn lane the existing left turn lane in Springdale, and the other 2 that are required for the through movement. I have these examples of others that are the diagonal design from ones that we've been associated with in the past. We're currently doing work in the center of Andover at Elm Square. In this case, we're doing just some retrofit improvements, not all new mast arms, but this is just a very nearby example of one that shows the clustering of all these signals out in the middle of the intersection as part of the diagonal design. This one is something that we peer reviewed years ago in Wayland Town Center at 20, 27, and 126. And again, you can see how every single approach can see all the different heads that are, out and over the intersection. The other reason I provide these 2 photos is you can see 2 different designs of the mast arms, the straight arm and the curved arm on the 2 different existing projects. So next steps, obviously, today we're hoping to get your endorsement for the mast arm design as we have it. And if we have any input from you on the style, et cetera, that would be wonderful. We continue to explore the opportunities to try to further reduce the signal heads. We'll be reaching out to DOT, just like we did with the mast arms, to discuss the options that might reduce it. But based on the current concept and the current standards for the industry, we will try to, I guess, consider the board's request to continue to try to pare it down, but not at a point where we might compromise safety. So that's still in front of us, but we look forward to advancing the design with DOT and DPW and town administration. We would seek to return to you if there are any design features that were not consistent with what we talked about to date. And then ultimately look to complete the bidding documents over the next 6 months or so, and then construct the project next spring and summer. So that's a summary of what I have. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions. And I look forward to hopefully receiving your endorsement.
So I appreciate it, Kevin. Unfortunately, I think there's going to be quite a bit of conversation here, and I have to leave this meeting in 10 minutes. So let me tell you my thoughts. I have spent a lot of time driving around looking at intersections. My preference is the curved arms because I think they look a lot more attractive and they tend to blend in better. And I focused on intersections in, like, for instance, Needham Town Center has a bunch of decorative intersections, and some of their larger intersections have it. Um, I've also spent a lot of time looking at the number of cans on these arms. And, again, I challenge you to see if we can reduce even further the number of cans on the arms. I have seen other towns putting one can on an arm and then cans on the poles, which I think blend in a lot better. The rendering showing the sidewalks, the crosswalks, certainly an upgrade for us in Dover. So I do like that. What I would very much like to do is to be able to present, to have you move forward, but to be able to present to the town in an information session what the final design may look like before we go out to bid and finalize it. Because this is going to be a huge change. I will tell you, until you came to us, I didn't realize how much I did not pay attention to intersections that had the arms. So I think it's going to be a huge change, and then people are going to get used to it but it is a big change, and I think what I found most alarming with the first pass was all of the number of cans. You've done a much better job reducing them. But that's my 2 cents.
May I ask, because I'm unclear, how many cans do you have on the current proposal, Kevin?
In total, I could count them up quickly, but essentially on the approaches that have the left turn lanes, uh, this guidance and industry standards requires one over the left turn lane. So on Center Street southbound and Springdale Ave, each of those approaches have one on the left turn lane and then two for the other approach.
So they have three
Those have
each.
three. Walpole Street has two, and um, uh, Center
Springdale.
Street northbound has two. And then there's pedestrian signal heads on each corner facing each crosswalk.
Well, like Robin, I think you sent the entire select board out to look at intersections in other towns, and we've noted quite a few. Um, I will say that Needham, Route 135, right in the center of town, and then Natick, which is Route 135 crossing Route 27. So that the center of both towns, all three roads have three lanes, left, center, or straight and right. And yet both those intersections have 8 cans total. And they have the flashing emergency lights. They've got the little arms pointing down, which I'm assuming are the electronics to how many cars are in there. So these, and they're all fluted poles painted black. So I'm assuming these are meeting state requirements. And I just struggle mightily with the fact that you've got two state routes crossing each other with a traffic flow and volume that has got to be a multiple of the town of Dover. And they're getting away with 8 cans, but we still need more than that. And so I'm going to one more time ask you to go back and minimize the effects of this project to the utmost extent that state law and safety will allow us. Because again, we need to let the town weigh in, and based on a lot of conversations I've had, this is going to get a hard no, and we've got to find a way to get to yes because we need to improve the traffic. which brings me to a much more important point than the number of cans and poles. On Walpole Street coming south, the design appears to this layperson to still only allow 2 cars turning left. If we're only allowing 2 cars turning left, no matter how many lights, cans, software, and what have you, you're not going to improve the fact that cars coming down Walpole Street, once there are 2 people turning left, the intersection stops. So we've got to widen Walpole Street to allow at least 3 or 4 left turn cars so that the remainder can go through the light either straight or right. And similarly, Center Street northbound going from Medfield to Needham, it's unclear whether that has been alleviated enough. Springdale looks like it, and then Center Street looks like it. But without the lane allowance for cars to go through, it doesn't make much sense. We're going to spend $1.1 million. We need to make this fix be a true and complete fix. And so until we widen those, I don't see it. And nothing will frustrate us all more than to go through this and still have traffic backing up on 2 directions with significant backups. So I agree with Robin that we want to move forward, but please know that there's going to be a likely backlash to this project, even as it's reconstituted, and that we want to minimize the number of cans and poles to the greatest extent possible. And
we want to get to yes.
Yeah, we want to get to yes. We want to fix the problem, but this is a sleepy little town with a lot of idiosyncrasies, and the center of town is one of them. So those are my 2 cents, because otherwise I think the town is going to revolt and we're going to get a no, and then we're going to have to turn the grant down.
Sure, and I'd love to address that. Maybe if I hear from Mr. Hudson first, just to try to hit on all the different points.
No,
Right.
I basically feel that we need to find a way to yes. I also agree that we should minimize the number of cans that are hanging over the intersection. I did feel that the diagonal lamp poles seemed to be a compromise that we didn't really need to make. But I'd still prefer the squarer ones, but I also like the arched lamps as well. So I think there's somewhere in there's a solution. I think we also need to and I agree with Dave here, be sure that we've come up with a design that really does streamline the flow of traffic through that intersection, because that's the main challenge we've got in the town. And if you go down Walpole Street to the center of town in the early mornings, the traffic backs up quite a lot there. And I think it is largely due to the fact that the moment you get a couple of cars trying to turn left, the whole intersection comes to a stop. So yeah, I think we need to come and find a way forward. I'm perhaps a little bit less skeptical than Dave is on how the town might react to this. I think if there's a very clear sign that we're going to increase the flow of traffic through the town, I think a lot of people will find that very acceptable.
And I did talk to the police chief who said that this new technology will most definitely increase the flow of traffic. However, he said he wanted to make sure that we understood it wasn't going to eliminate the backup. He said the traffic, though, would flow much more easily, but it wasn't going to end the backup.
Right.
So I would love to be able to respond to a couple specific things. First of all, the capability of doing other significant widening of Center Street northbound or Walpole Street is not going to be able to be part of the bottleneck project. This was meant to be retrofits and other changes, but not wholesale widening and things that would be part of what we would typically do as a transportation improvement program project or TIP project, which would considerably increase the cost, but meanwhile also considerably increase the impacts. We did take a look at how we might be able to lengthen the right turn lane on Walpole Street that would require, and as you know, they don't come in squarely across from one another between Springdale and Walpole. So as you try to increase the length of that right turn lane, it would eat considerably into the corner at the community center and the fire station to try to lengthen that. We did spend time looking at that. And there's no room to go outward because of where the gas pumps are at the gas station.
What about that sidewalk, Kevin?
We cannot get rid of the sidewalk. I don't think it's a safe thing to do, given that, you know, people are trying to get to town center as a
But if you
user
look
other
at
than
it,
a
it
car.
is a sidewalk to nowhere.
Oh, maybe
And
for
so
now.
it's a strip of about maybe 2.5 car lengths that does nothing. It doesn't go to anywhere. And so that to me is the precious real estate that will allow that right turn lane to extend by another at least one or two cars. And that's the crux of that issue. And so if you have a sidewalk that is serving no purpose and goes to nowhere, in your renderings, you're showing that it's been completely redone. So I'm like, well, if we're going to redo it, then why don't I not just remove it and put in Tarvia and then allow that lane to be efficient?
Yeah,
Right. So Dave and Cam,
Yeah.
I really apologize,
You
but
gotta go.
I have
You
to
gotta
leave.
go.
So,
Yeah.
right. So, I mean, my feeling is I would like to move the process forward. I completely agree that we still need to figure out a way to reduce the number of cans. And I sort of like Dave's idea. Maybe we can get more real estate, eliminating part of the sidewalk, but I think we need sufficient sidewalk to make the crossings handicap accessible. And I don't know
Mhm.
what those are, but I'm gonna have to leave. So my
Okay.
apologies.
No worries.
You guys are in charge. It's good practice for you.
Oh, leaving the foxes in the hen house, Robin.
All
Be
right, here we
careful.
Right.
go. So
All right. Well,
safe
thanks.
travels, Robin.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.
so as far as the number of cans go, signal heads, signal indications, there's different names, but we can, as I mentioned during the presentation, we can continue to explore that with Mass DOT to see if they're amenable to essentially going back to the older standard instead of the current state of the industry practice. And that's really what it comes down to, is that the other intersections in Needham and Natick may have been installed and they may be relatively new, but they may not be using the current guidance from the state for what makes the left turn lane safer, which is a signal indication that is directly in front of them. So we'll explore it. We'll report back to the board. I will take another look at the potential for the widening of that area. These days, we add sidewalks. We don't get rid of sidewalks, even if they might not go very far, Mr. Haviland. So I would just caution the board that it may not be a continuous, far extending sidewalk today, but it may be very difficult to get that back someday if you get rid of it. So that there are a couple things there with things that are worth considering, but there was discussion from each of the board members about continuing the design, and then let's see what the public reaction is. I think we're at a stage where you've had a couple presentations, and if this came down to spending a lot of the state's dollars to advance the design, and then only to have the input that says, no, we're gonna not go forward with the grant, that's something that I really need to know now, rather than spending the state's money on something that may get abruptly stopped. It's just not a wise and prudent use of the state's money. So and I know the chair, had to go, and that's understandable, but we do need the board's endorsement to move forward. Understanding that the style of the mast arms, maybe a preference for the arched ones, the more ornamental ones, that's easy to do if mast arms are part of the plan. It's just that I'm reluctant to march forward and spend a lot of time to get to great detail if we can't get there.
Yeah. My feeling there is that I think we will get there. It's just a question of having perhaps one more step to present this to a public meeting and get feedback from that, and then deciding what to do. I think it's rather unlikely that we're going to say a hard no. I think we just want to make sure it matches the sort of the town need as closely as possible. So that's my take on it. I don't know what you'd say, Dave.
I agree that we need to get to yes, but we're gonna ask that you push back hard on this new standard, given the fact that the towns around us and their town centers do not have this kind of infrastructure. So that is the comments, I don't need to repeat them. But to me, which is actually more important now, is for us to spend the state's money and the town's money and to go through and not address Walpole Street is a mistake that I'm unwilling to live with. And I understand what you're saying about sidewalks, but directly across the street is a sidewalk that goes somewhere. This is literally just a leftover vestige of what's there now. And again, what good is a piece of sidewalk that's approximately 20, 25 feet long? It does nothing for anybody. It provides no safety, no walking path, no nothing. But that very same real estate would solve Walpole Street in the morning.
Dave, I don't think we're going to get an answer to that right now. I think we should accept the idea of taking another look at to see what's possible there, to widen it, and to get another couple of cars in that left turn lane. But I don't think we're going to solve that problem right now.
No, we're not going to solve it now. I just want to make sure that Kevin is understanding that, yes, we want to get there. And yes, we would like to complete this project. These are the two areas that we're going to ask you to go back and do further work on. And
right. Agreed.
Yeah, I could just add, so, having obviously the opportunity to speak with you individually outside of this meeting, I think what Kevin and I need to work on is, one, I think we need to understand a definitive answer on the number of, cans required in order to get the grant money. Because I think that, my understanding is that there are a segment of the public that is not going to go for this project, period, because it's overhead, right? Those people, if they're not going to support it, no matter how many cans there are. I think what we're really trying to target is getting support of the people are open to it, understand the overhead is necessary in order to get this $1 million. It's a lot of money to say no to, but I think the number of cans, we need to understand that. So I think before we present to the public, we need to get a definitive answer to that and be able to provide that. And then I think, the sidewalk is interesting. And I think we need to look at it. To Dave's point, it is indeed a sidewalk to nowhere. And so I think it's worthy of looking at. So I think we could, Kevin and I can do that.
Right. The other one piece, and I have no idea if they're even up to code anymore, but I'm going to say the 4 light cans. In other words, green, yellow, red, left turn, green arrow. Instead of having a whole nother can up there, having one more, I don't know what to call them, light or directional indicator. I think we're beating this one to death. We thank you very much for your efforts. There's been a tremendous improvement from last time. We just, as you can see, we do want to get to yes, but it's got to be within parameters that are acceptable to the town, and we're getting much closer. So if you could look at those 2 issues, we'd be grateful. Other than that, what do you need from us today?
Um,
There's
maybe
no vote to be had.
if we can set another date that's in the near term with the board, I think that would be great.
Okay.
If we can take a
Super.
look at these couple items, and then if there's a way to, and maybe it's after this meeting, just so you can coordinate with Michael and others, but a date where the select board can have a longer agenda item where you can invite the public, or a separate meeting where we can do that. I think that would be great to do that in the near term, so that while things are fresh, and um, to not lose momentum if we can.
Absolutely understood. The only caveat is our town meeting is the first week Monday in May, which is the 4th or 5th. So if we could beg off to perhaps the week after that, because it's just trying to wedge that in, I think is going to be extremely difficult. If Michael can pull off the appropriate miracle, we're happy to do it sooner.
Yeah, and maybe it's a good opportunity to kind of advertise for the project, and we can
Right.
give a couple boards that Michael or Kevin can use to set up, so that at least people can get introduced to it, and then use it as hey, this meeting's coming up on this date, which would be after that. We're doing the same thing in a couple other towns where town meeting's a good chance to let everybody know what's going on, and
Excellent idea, Kevin. I like that a lot.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you
Super.
very much.
Okay.
I appreciate your time today.
Super.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And our Kevin McCabe, would you like to go on and talk about the second one, which is the Aqualine award bid?
Yes. So before you, I have a request for the board to authorize Town Administrator Blanchard to sign a contract with Aqualine Utility out of Weymouth. We had a bid opening last month for the Denham Street Culvert project. We had 13 plan holders and 7 bids on the project. The bids range from Aqualine, the 391,275, all the way up to $685,538. So a wide range there. In the packet was the contract documents and the reference check that Woodard and Kern provided as part of the bid and award services for this project. And then kind of again to hit on the head, there's no cost to the town of Dover. The DPW was awarded a grant through the Community One Stop program, which will pay for the culvert in entirety, and then a portion of the next item for the board's approval.
Well, one, I want to thank you for procuring the grant, and that is amazing. I'm going to ask if Cam has any comments on this.
No, it seems pretty straightforward. And again, I thank you as well for getting the grant, Kevin.
Yep. The only thing is I'm going to make a motion, but I'm going to describe in advance that I would like to allow Mike to have a little bit of discretion with Nina, so that if there are any minor contract amendments, that can get done. So I'm going to move to award the bid for professional services in support of the Dedham Street Culvert Replacement Project to Aqualine Utility, Inc. of Weymouth, Mass., subject to any minor revisions of town council and the town administrator.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, Dave Haviland.
Aye, Cam Hudson.
Terrific. So
all right, and then on a similar thread, the award for contract administration services for the project. So this is for the support of the design engineer Woodard and Curran to be on site, to submit documents to the town, do all the bid submittal review, and all the substantial work that goes behind the scenes for a successful project. And again, we received a federal earmark for this project. So the earmark is going to be absorbed for probably about 70% of this. And then another small percentage of the one-stop grant pays for the construction admin services. So between the earmark in that grant. Again, no cost to the town of Dover for the CA services for this project.
Which is terrific. So I have literally the same comments that I'm going to make in the motion, but Cam, do you have any?
No, I'm with you, Dave.
Yeah, super. Well, then I am going to move to approve the professional service agreement with Woodard and Curran for professional engineering construction observation services in support of the Dedham Street Culvert Replacement Project, giving town council and the town administrator the ability to make changes as warranted.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Aye, Dave Haviland.
Aye, Cam Hudson.
All right, Kevin, you're on a roll.
Keep it going.
We've still got a long way to roll.
Is for requesting the board's approval for the intermunicipal agreement between the town of Walpole and various municipalities regarding our solid waste contract negotiations with Wind Waste. So there is I believe it's a 20 or 30-year contract that will be expiring in 2027. So that's where there's actually 35 municipalities that are in this intermunicipal agreement. So the fee for the legal counsel to procure our next long-term contract with Wind Waste, be held through Walpole, and then the pricing would be divided through all the communities. So it should overall be a pretty light fee. We plan to use the revolving fund that was established last year at town meeting to fund and support the contract negotiations for Dover's share. But obviously a very important part in operation. So this probably started, the negotiations and setting up council started all probably about 10 months to 12 months ago at this point. So that's where we're at. Legal counsels reviewed and made edits to the contract. So just looking for the board's approval tonight to enter into that intermunicipal agreement with Walpole for those negotiations.
Cam, you have any comments?
Not really. I'm just trying to understand, are there any likely big changes to the agreement, or is it likely merely to be rinse and repeat type agreement, Kevin?
I'm not sure. I think it would be rinse and repeat, but obviously Wilburator sold several years ago to Wind Waste. So I don't know if a new company would be big changes, but obviously from our operational side and the queuing and the scaling and the billing, nothing's changed. So I'm, I guess, more optimistic that yes, it would be just a rinse and repeat.
Okay, thank you. That's my only comment.
It was pretty straightforward to me. So hearing no other discussion, I move to approve the intermunicipal agreement between the town of Walpole and various municipalities regarding solid waste contract negotiations.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Aye, Dave Haviland.
Aye, Cam Hudson.
Okay, we got one more.
Actually, two more.
Two more.
So the next item is to approve the revised recycled product procurement policy. So several years ago, that's in the packet, the original policy that the board adopted at the time. So DEP sent out some new guidance, and basically, really the only change is in paragraph I of that, which just cites, the donation to local organizations and how to properly dispose of items, citing Mass General Law, Chapter 30B, Section 15. So essentially, other than that, there's no change to the document itself. And this is part of the requirements for the town to enroll and apply each year for the Sustainable Material Recovery Program. So specifically, the town goes after the RDP, which is the Recycled Dividends Program. So we typically receive anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 a year in that program. So that helps the recycling committee and the DPW use those funds for certain other things that wouldn't necessarily be in new programs we want to start, additional signage, stuff like that we wouldn't necessarily absorb in the operating.
Okay. Cam, do you have anything to discuss?
No.
What I'm going to ask is not for this go around, because this was done in 22 and we're now reapproving in 26, but to ask the Sustainability Committee if they would like to review this for possible improvements next time. It's too late now, but let's give them their due, because they might have a couple of ideas to improve it even more. But right now you need this. So Cam, you good to go?
Yep.
All right. I move to approve the environmentally preferred procurement policy dated April 14th, 2026.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Aye, Dave Haviland.
Aye, Cam Hudson.
Super.
And for the final DPW item, looking for the board to award a bid to All States Construction for bonded wearing course treatment. So just a little background on this. This is a different tool for pavement preservation. If you all commonly traverse Route 109 in Medfield, Medfield did this about 4 years ago. So essentially they mill out the limits of the project intersecting roads, and they kind of over inundate a tack coat on the road. Oh, first they crack seal any patchwork we would have to do, crack seal the road, and then it's a high application rate of a tack course, and then it's ultra bond. It's a really thin, typically it's about a half an inch layer of actual asphalt. So we're planning to with the board's approval today, award this contract, and the test subject, if you will be Glen Street this upcoming construction cycle. So we had 9 plan holders, only one bidder, All States, but to give the board some assurance in the pricing, there's a Southeastern Regional Service Group. It's a consortium bid. Medfield's a member in that, and we have the same square yardage, $8.75 a square yard that they received in that consortium bid. And Dover actually has better pricing because when I wrote the specs, the crack sealing in Medfield's bid is a separate pay item where it's incidental to ours. So I would say we have actual better pricing than the consortium bid. So again, looking for the board's approval to try All States this year. And doing ultra bonded wearing course. And I've worked with this construction company previously. I did a chip seal with them when I was working for a different municipality in Sudbury, and then when I worked for the city of Newton, we did ultra bonded wearing there. So I have directly worked with this vendor before, and just want to give that a try this year to expand our pavement preservation tools in the toolbox, if you will.
Okay, well, it makes sense. Cam, do you have any discussion?
Kevin, do you expect any significant improvements to the durability of the road surfaces from doing it this way?
Yeah, so we could get into obviously a whole discussion, but obviously this is a cheaper alternative than milling out the road half an inch, inch and a half, and putting a whole inch and a half in, redoing every drainage structure. So this would only result in minor structure adjustments. So again, it's there's a whole degradation curve on the pavement conditions of roads. So it's kind of grabbing that road before it falls into the next major upgrade category. So that's what we're doing, is capturing that at an earlier stage, use a cheaper technology on it while it's in that falls into the next disarray category. So yeah, so it would improve rideability, right? Because it's actual asphalt. We're still doing the micro surface. So your next we're actually rebidding that. And so in the next board meeting or the one directly after that, we'd be looking to do that. So that's what we did on Main Pleasant. So we're still doing that in standalone crack seal as well. So this is just another vendor and another technology. So expanding the repertoire down here at the DPW.
Okay.
And Glen Street must need it. So, all right, Cam, anything else?
No, that's all.
I have got no questions or comments, so I move to award the bid to All States Construction, Inc. for a bonded wearing course road treatment at a total bid price of $182,072.50 for a 1-year term with renewal options for 2 consecutive fiscal years.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Aye, Dave Haviland.
Aye, Cam Hudson.
You exhausted, Kevin?
Absolutely. Now it's time to go to the health fair. So
Yeah, right.
thank you all for your time and approvals tonight.
Thank you for your hard work and the success in getting these grants. We are truly grateful.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're very welcome.
Right. Okay, where are we? Oh, the town library HVAC. Cam, you could do this probably just off the top of your head. So Robin was going to present this. Mike, is there anything that we should know other than we know the obvious, but is there anything we should know for
No,
the
I
public?
think just I mean, again, you in your packet, but just for anybody else's benefit, as you know, we've been eager to move this forward. We issued an RFQ for the professional services. There was a review team that included the library director, our superintendent of buildings, senior custodian, as well as a project consultant that helped put together the packets. And the architect before you was selected as the best option. So this is within the budget, and town council's reviewed the agreement, and we recommend your approval so this project continue to move forward.
Terrific. Thank you. Cam, any questions or comments?
No, other than let's hope this is something that's enough to get momentum going on this project that's taken so long to get implemented.
I will second that. All right. I move to approve the April 3rd, 2026 professional services agreement between Dover and Lyro Hill Corp. For design services for the Dover Town Library HVAC project.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Aye, Dave Haviland.
Aye, Cam Hudson.
Okay. It's 5.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
Sure, Kevin.
Thanks, Carl.
Carl, sorry.
All right. So Robin was going to do the surplus materials. This one is pretty obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, it's surplus and we want to get rid of it. And the fire department is going to reap between $10 and $20 per. So
big bucks.
Yeah, right. Exactly. No, but it is a good thing because clearly Chief is going through and getting rid of the surplus equipment and cleaning out the building. So if they don't need it, might as well not have it. So
particularly given the space constraints over there, I think it's a smart move.
Yeah. So I moved to deem 15 self-contained breathing apparatus, parentheses, SCBA, end parens, cylinder tanks as surplus equipment.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Aye, Dave Haviland.
Aye, Cam Hudson.
All right. So
drought status is the next one.
yeah, it just, for some reason, my computer stopped responding to the. Well, we know what the drought status is, but I'm going to have to, here it is. All right. So I was the one who asked to throw this on the agenda. We have monitoring wells, and I spoke with Mike this morning about this, and hopefully we will be able to expedite. I don't know if repair is the right word, improving the technology so that we can get our own readings. But those readings, even we might collect them once a month, we will get daily data to start creating a picture. My concern, as you know, is that we are right on the north and east edge of the state's zone, which looks to be just county. And that's a arbitrary line in the sand. So the towns to our north and west are going to be in a level 1 drought. We share the same aquifer, but per the state's guidelines, we're not there. And I back that up with a concern of the NECN weather report on the drought status, saying that we are definitely still in one, and they have a corridor that basically parallels the Mass Pike from north of the Pike and south, including us. So I don't know who's right. I don't want to change the policy that we have until we have a fallback. But at the same point in time, we're the town that probably relies on this aquifer more than anyone, and we need to protect it. So the question is, as we enter spring watering, do we want to allow unfettered watering, or do we want to try and leave the drought level 1 drought status, in place? And I'll stop there. But that was my discussion item. And what are your thoughts, Cam?
Yeah. To be honest, I'm uncertain about this whole thing. But I do feel that we're probably best to leave it to the state specialists to come up with the assessment and not try and second guess them. So I sort of am inclined to say, let's just leave it as it is. The other thing that I find a little bit frustrating is that we might declare a certain level of drought status, but unless there's some sort of enforcement, a real enforcement, it's probably more hot air than anything else. So I think we might need to reconsider how we approach the whole preservation of the aquifers. I fully agree with your suggestion that we improve the technology for monitoring the wells. I've also had direct discussions with Mike on that, because I've been getting questions from the Concom and the Open Space Committee on it. And I think that we do need to get more consistent and complete monitoring of the wells. And at the moment, that's pretty ad hoc and quite labor intensive. And if we can come up with a way to automate that, I think it would be a much more effective approach. So they're my thoughts on it. I'm not sure where that leads us, Dave, but.
Well, I think we're actually quite close. We want to do something more to protect the aquifer, but we don't have a good basis of fact and standing to hang our hats on, absent the state. So once we get the wells monitored, I think we can put this back on and address it in the future, and look at the policy. Again, we need a process and sound, I don't want to use the word science, but sound information to make a drought status that overrides the state. But I mean, I know that the Taunton area got about 3 inches more rain through thunderstorms and other fronts, and we didn't get any of it. So I understand why the whole southeast region has been removed from drought status. But I don't think we need to take any action on this today. One, because we don't have, again, the science or what have you, the information to make a different decision.
Right.
So,
I also really strongly believe we need to really look at the policy for the management of the aquifers. We should really address that sometime in the not too distant future, and particularly to think of ways in which we can better control what is actually being pulled out of the aquifer. I mean, I've been really thinking that maybe we should consider some real changes to policy there, including such as requiring all new, on the sale of a property, that monitoring of water usage gets put in place, not necessarily, not even at all to use as a tool for charging people for that water, but so we get a much better handle on what actually is being consumed in households. And I think something like that might help us get there. and also to consider wells that are designed purely for an irrigation perspective to any new wells getting put in on properties for irrigation purposes, that we also consider changing the bylaws to insist on monitoring devices there. But anyway, that's a future music, but I think we need to start seriously thinking about this.
Well, once we get past town meeting
Mm-hmm.
and enter the summer months, I know we have a lot of policies to review, but this one I think is quite important. It's mighty tough to live in a town if you don't have water.
Right.
So maybe what we can ask is Mike and Chris to wedge that in somewhere over the
Mm-hmm.
summer
Yep.
and start a larger discussion and go from there. So good. Thank you.
Agreed.
Not to extend this, but do you mind if I just share my screen for a second just to add to the discussion?
Please.
So one is just in terms of expectation setting. I don't know. Can you see the what's called the dashboard on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. So really a huge thank you to Elizabeth Nagy. As the board may know, but the public's benefit, we used to have a software provider that we used to, as we took our measurements. Unfortunately, just wasn't working out, and so this was actually built, by Elizabeth using Google. So it's now a free internal product. And what you can see here is a graph of what is generally monthly water readings that are taken. As Kim noted, it is labor intensive, it's by hand. You'll see the gaps here as we don't take the measurements over the winter months generally, but it does give you a sense of at that snapshot of what our levels are looking like. This goes through September. We do have 2 readings that needed to be added in here. There's one in December, and then there's one this current month of April. What I will say is, Carl, speaking with Carl, we look like we're about 2 to 3 feet up over what we were in December. So we are seeing improvement like the rest of the state. So that's a good thing. But just in terms of expectations, while these automatic, or excuse me, not automatic, I guess they are automatic measurement devices are going to be great. One, it is still labor intensive. We still have to go out to each well once a month, download the data, and then come back and upload it. It will certainly give more readings because it measures it once a day. But really, there's no reason to think that the data is going to really change anything drastically, because there's been some concerns that these hand measurements aren't accurate. We don't believe that's true. We do think they're very accurate. We have an appropriate device. So, at a month in time, we do think our water measurements are very accurate and show where it is today. Certainly, the daily measurements will help with trends, how it's going over the course of the month. So, certainly be helpful. But I just don't want the expectation to be that those devices will really change how we analyze things. More data is always better. But I don't know that the end result would be very much different. So anyway, we'll update this with the 2 measurements we have, and then again going forward, continue to update this with the measuring devices. And then lastly, did that switch over to the bylaw?
Yep.
Yeah, I did. Okay. I'm always confused with Zoom when it does. So this is the water use bylaw. Again, it does give the board discretion in terms of what you wish to do in our community. A couple of things, as we said, as we look at this. One is, when this was done in 2022, it does require a notice in the newspaper for a certain amount of time before we can enforce any decisions you make. So I think that, again, might be something we want to consider, because we do have one small newspaper circulation. Oftentimes the deadlines for printing, like for example, if you were to make a decision today, we already missed this Friday. So it wouldn't be until the following Friday. And then the next Friday, we could change the drought status. So it's a little cumbersome in this day and age to have to do that in the newspaper. And then to Cam's point, enforcement authority, it actually is you, the selectmen, that enforce it. You don't have to go out though. It says, or your designee. We're not going to send you out with clipboards and ticket books. But I think that's a talk through of what that looks like. There's been part of the, as I understand it, part of the passage of this bylaw was a real commitment to not looking to go out and find people, even though that is allowed, but education. But it is, this has now been in place for 4 years. It's, consideration of how we do enforcement going forward, in terms of certainly still education, but how much notice, warning, and when we actually do start the finding structure and kind of what the consequences of that are. And then also staffing to do that. If there's an expectation that staff are out patrolling for sprinklers, that's difficult, right? Because a lot of people water, early in the morning, 4 a.m., 5 a.m., they have automatic sprinklers come on, or in the evening, and we don't have staff here. Sure, we don't have the staff to roam and monitor that, but we also don't have staff to even respond to complaints always at that time of day. So again, I think to your point, just to highlight, I think it's a good time to look at this, look at our policies and how we might do this better going forward now that it's been on the books for 4 years.
Very well
Right.
said. Thank you.
I agree. Very well said, Mike.
Okay, so we on to 1.8.
Yes, and just for the public's benefit, the board had voted last year to follow the state guidance. So again, given your last vote without any additional vote, we are now in a no drought status. So we'll update the website, et cetera, to reflect that.
That is correct. Yes. So thank you. All right. Well, the next item is from our town clerk, and she's requesting the appointment of Aaron Rodat Savla to the Board of Registrars effective March 31, 2026. I saw Felicia in the audience. If you wish to say anything, here you go, coming in. Felicia, do you need to add anything, or can we just? Maybe she left.
No, I don't think so. I know she's here, but I think she's dealing with customers while she's listening. So
got it. Okay, so no worries.
No, as long as you don't have any questions, I think we're good to move forward with the vote.
Cam, do you have any discussion?
Well, I'm declaring my ignorance here. What is the Board of Registrars?
Mike, I'm going to let you try and tackle that one because I have an idea, but I do not know.
Yeah. So I know that it's under Mass General Law. I'm going to fudge this, I'm sure. But I believe they assist the town clerk in terms of serving. I know there's some requirements around having representatives from the different political party. And I also believe that you are unable to serve on other boards or committees if you are a board or registrar. But it is a requirement under state law, and I believe they do. And I don't know the specifics, but I know they participate in the voting, the counting, and kind of not oversee, because that's the town clerk, but kind of monitor that process and act, I think, as a resource to the town clerk.
Yeah.
So I may have got that all wrong, but that's the best I'm going to give you today.
Well,
Thank you.
Felicia will correct us all when she gets a moment, if it's not true.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Okay.
Well, then I am going to move to appoint Aaron Rodat Savla to the Board of Registrars effective March 31, 2026 and ending on June 30th, 2029.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Aye, Dave Haviland.
I, Cam Hudson.
Terrific. 8. Oh, another short one. Mike, Chris, town meeting. Little prep.
Yeah, so I mean, I can start and Chris can fill in. So I mean, I think we talked about a lot of this under the first couple items. The warrant has been mailed. The blue book is being mailed. I think overall it was a really great process this year. Really thanks to the warrant committee, Chris and Suzanne, who worked together to improve the process, improve the product itself, everything from formatting to the information in there. I think most striking, I think, is the detail of the capital projects. I think that really gives voters a real sense of it before they come to town meeting. And again, we just encourage people when they receive it, please read it. It's for the voters' benefit. so that they come prepared, and certainly encourage if they have questions ahead of time. The Blue Book contains contact information now for the most appropriate person to get a question answered on a particular article. So yeah, it's really just awesome. The next big event for us is the moderators meeting. So that is scheduled for the 28th, Tuesday the 28th. Next week is April vacation, so we're not doing much next week, but the following week, the 28th, that'll be here. I believe we're doing here at the Towns. So that'll be the next big step, and then right into the next week, town meeting on the 4th. Chris, anything else you want to touch on?
Yeah, so Blue Book is out the door, and thanks to all the warrant committee members who we worked in really collaboratively this year, and we thought it was a nice process that hopefully will result in an improved product for people to catch up on all things town meeting and recommendations ahead of actual town meeting. I do want to add that we're expecting the Blue Book to be mailed out sometime next week. And when we get a better idea of the timing of when that is going to hit households, we do plan on emailing a digital version out through all of our digital communication channels, in addition to putting it on the website. So it will be available digitally as well.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Well, we all know what this prep is all about. So here we go. Final stretch.
Mm-hmm.
1-9. So after that is Board of Selectmen updates, and yeah. Did you have anything to report, Cam?
No, I don't. I did have that question that I discussed with Mike a little bit earlier about the capital budget process and library requests, but I think we can follow up with that offline. Other than that, really, nothing very much, no.
Most of my stuff has already been covered, or
Right.
we'll cover it in executive. So I'm going to defer
Indeed.
there. And why don't we move on to Mike and town administrator updates?
Yeah, so it's mostly the same. Hit on everything kind of during the meeting. Just a couple of things to point out. The COA talk with the town I'll be participating in about town meeting the budget is this week, the 16th at 1 p.m. So looking forward to that. We're also looking to host a information session on the fuel island right after April vacation. We're just trying to nail down the date, but we'll get that out as soon as that's final. And then Kevin just made a reference today when he was getting off after his long time having to go to the health fair. So just wanted to say thank you to our HR director, Robin Tassino. We're having a health fair for town employees today here at the townhouse, an opportunity for them to come and meet with the different vendors of the insurance products we offer, health and local health and wellness opportunities. There's some giveaways, things like that. So it's a lot of work. A lot of vendors come in, but it's well received by town employees. So appreciate her work on that.
Terrific. Well, thank you. It's I went to that last year and it seemed wonderful, and everyone was really appreciative. So I'm assuming it'll be a similar reception today.
Absolutely.
That's good. All right. Well, the final agenda item on this meeting is the consent agenda, which consists of the following: approve acceptance and expenditure of $10,889.69 from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Public Safety and Security and the Department of Fire Services grant for firefighter safety equipment. Is that even a sentence? That's just one big run-on. Never mind. Approve the 2026 one-day special liquor licenses for May 2nd, 3rd, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 19th, 22nd, 23rd, and 26th. And then to approve the Board of Selectmen open session meeting minutes for October 3rd, November 3rd, 16, 21, 23, 30 of 22, and March 27, May 3rd, 18, 23rd, June 7th, July 18th, 26th, August 9th, and October 5th of 2023.
And I can only say I heartily thank, I guess it was mostly Suzanne's work, or Suzanne and Mona for doing this, and I really laud the effort to get us up to date on that. So thank you very much.
Well said. So, any discussion on these?
Not from
Okay,
me.
well then, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Seconded.
All those in favor, aye, Dave Haviland.
I, Cam Hudson.
Super. All right. Well, now we're just going to need to adjourn and then come back in executive session. But I'm going to ask
Right.
that it's 3 minutes of bio break before we go into executive.
Thank you, Dave. Great minds think alike. I was about
there
to
you
ask
go.
the same thing.
So I move to adjourn the meeting.
Seconded.
So Dave,
Yeah.
in the packet, if you don't mind, there's a formal vote that's quite extensive to enter executive session, not to return to open session.
Okay.
It's essentially adjourning, but noting we're going to go do something else for a bit.
Okay. So we will the board is now going to enter executive session, not to return to open session. So the motion is I move that the board enter an executive session, not to return to open session under purpose 2 of MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with the Dover Police Association, the Public Employees Local Union 1116, and non-union personnel, which is the town administrator, under purposes 3 of MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, to discuss strategy with respect to threat and litigation over the community center building project. M. O'Connor Contracting, as an open meeting discussion, may have a detrimental effect on the negotiation positions of the town.
Seconded.
All those in favor, aye, Dave Haviland.
I, Cam Hudson.
Super. Does that work, Mike?
Yep, that works. So we'll log off this one, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
Yeah. So literally, let's just give us till 1:23 or so.
Okay.
Super.
See you
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.